Thank you. This is the Ordinary Council meeting for Monday, the 27th of May 2024. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Cowra Council is recording this meeting and will upload the recording to Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at Council meetings, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. There is no apologies from anyone. Everybody's in attendance. Thank you. Disclosure of interest. Does any councillor has a disclosure of interest in any items? Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 7.4, West Cowra's Sewage Project Development Plan. It's non-pecuniary and I will remain in the chamber. It's just that I'm a resident of West Cowra. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further? Okay. So now we have a no presentations, no public forum, the confirmation of the minutes to confirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on 22nd of April 2024. I have somebody move that motion, please. Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Nikki Kiss. Sure. No, it's the next one. Okay. Okay. Sure, Councillor Smith. We were in Japan. Okay. Well, Councillor, technically it doesn't matter, but Councillor Kiss and Councillor Downey, we'll just change that. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now I'll take the motion to confirm the minutes of the Extraordinary Council meeting held on 13th of May 2024. Councillor Watt, you have a change that you would like to make to those. On page 29. I need someone to second it. And your microphone. Councillor Kiss. Yeah. Councillor Watt, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt. Okay.
Councillor Watt pointed out on page 29 of the iPad where it references the dot point page 38 link E4.3.D, removing the section in relation to if feasible, so it should just say change per week to read per year is all that should be on that line. Page 38 link E4.3.D, change per week to read per year is the change that Councillor Watt's requested.
Thank you. Everyone clear about that? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, we have the number 3.1, which is on page 30, and it's a mayoral minute, and I'd like to move that, and I'd like a seconder. If I could, Councillor West, thank you. And I'd like to just, you can read it in great detail about where we went, what we did. Haven't got what we ate in it, but we did eat a lot of very nice fresh, cold and uncooked food, which was really lovely. But I'd had enough by the time I came home. And the best thing about the whole thing, I think, was the fact that we met some great people and they all acknowledged who we were. We knew a lot of them, actually. It's surprising how many people we actually had met before in Cowra and how many people are looking forward to coming in August. So I think the highlight for me of the whole tour was that we met some terrific people and they acknowledged that Cowra was a very important place to a lot of Japanese. And the Fukuoka prefecture and government was very, very welcoming. It was very, very formal. And I think the fact that we mentioned that they've become very more involved as time's gone on. They are much more involved than they used to be. So it was very nice to be there. And I thank the council for letting us go or allowing us to go, and it was a good outcome, and I think we're going to be very busy in August when everyone comes back. Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would concur with your words and firstly say that I was delighted to be able to take this trip and be on this part of the tour, so to speak, and I acknowledge my colleagues for affording that opportunity to me. I'd also acknowledge you, Madam Mayor, for this report, but also for leading the delegation along with the Deputy Mayor and particularly the general manager. I think there are probably two salient points that came out for me. One is that these trips are well worth it, and I would strongly commend it in years to come that we do make this trip. It is important. We got wonderful receptions wherever we went, across as the report indicates. So I really do strongly endorse that we continue to take these trips. The other comment I make is that it was a fairly short trip, it was a quick trip, a very, very busy trip, but we all got on very, very well. It was a pleasure to be with the team. But I'd acknowledge also not just the Mayor's leadership on the trip, but also the General Manager's organisation and those who put the itinerary together. Because there were times when we only had a couple of minutes to catch a train or to be here or be somewhere, and I can happily report we didn't miss a train, didn't miss a plane, train, or anything else, and we were there in plenty of time always. So it was really, and those who did put the itinerary together, I'd ask the General Manager to please pass that back on, because it was really seamless, and the organisation was impeccable. So again, I'm delighted to have been part of it, and do commend it strongly for people going forward, because it is important, and we are well received. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, Councillor Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Fagan. As a person who'd never been to Japan before, it was a learning experience in a lot of ways, and I was petrified of the food, but I enjoyed the food. It was very good. Everybody knew I was coming, and I couldn't eat garlic. Everywhere we went, if they had stuff with garlic in it, they had a special food for me. So I was very appreciative of that. But the one thing I would like to say is that we were there 6 days, and I want to make it clear that we had a suit on for 6 days. You know, that we met, we ate, we travelled. But after about 3 days, it became fully apparent to me the importance of Cowra to the Australian-Japanese relationship. So much so that I believe the amount of money that it costs Cowra to facilitate this relationship with Japan, I really do think that the Department of Foreign Affairs or someone else in the federal government could do well to assist us at some stage.
Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Smith?
I understand the General Manager carried everyone's baggage, which of course is what he was employed to do, so that's excellent. Just a quick update on the Sake exchange, noting that you spent a considerable amount of time with Sake, and I know how hospitable they are and keen on continuing the relationship. There is no definitive answer yet, but we are working on two fronts, one of which we are very sure will bear fruit in terms of the exchange being able to continue through St Raph's, and I hope by next month to have that definitive answer for everyone. So there is hope.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. That's very good news, because we do need to continue that relationship, especially after the amazing welcome we got. So I'll put the motion, if that's anyone else want to say anything, or I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 4.1, General Committee Recommendations. Page 43 is a donation to Cowra Local Aboriginal Land Council. Moved Aaron and Councillor Watt, second Councillor Judy Smith. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, as we discussed in the General Committee, some representatives of the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group recently visited the Cowra Aboriginal Lands Council building and saw the oven that is in need of replacement. As we discussed, the Cowra LAUC holds trainings and community connections in this space, and there will be great benefit for having this oven replaced. It will also obviously reduce their operating costs going forward, which can be, I'm sure, reinvested into the community with great benefit. And as was highlighted before, but worth noting, while the Cowra Lands Council is a government agency, it does have quite big responsibility and limited funds, and is a registered charity, so is eligible and well in need of receiving this.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Smith?
I think this will be very well received by the Lands Council, and it'll be very well used for a variety of functions and a variety of people. So I think it'll be money well spent.
Any further comments? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. The donation to Kai Garrett, number 4.2, recommendation is there. Councillor Smith, Councillor Downey. Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yes, this young man, we have provided help to him before, so he is over it. But when you're selected to play or represent your country, I believe we should make exceptions, and I fully recommend this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Downey.
I agree with Councillor Smith. I'm happy to support the recommendation. Just congratulate Kai on his outstanding achievement and wish him luck in his upcoming championship, which is next month. And just point out that Kai is a product of Cowra Little Athletics, which is pretty awesome.
Thanks, Councillor Downey. Any further comment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The Section 355 Committee draft minutes for the Cowra Regional Art Gallery. Councillor Delbo and Councillor Downey. Councillor Delbo, would you like to speak? No speaking. Councillor Downey. Okay, I'll put the motion. Any further speakers? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Number 4.4, the recommendation of council note the investments and financial reports. Then I have a mover of that. Councillor Smith, Councillor Watt, Councillor Smith.
Yes, we discussed this in committee, but it's just pleasing to see that we are slowly whittling down a few loans and we are getting a good interest rate on our investments compared with what we used to get, and also that the rates are coming in an orderly manner.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Watt, would you like to comment? Anyone else like to comment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Number 5, the General Manager's Reconciliation Working Party. There's a recommendation there that we register with the Reconciliation Australia to develop. Councillor Smith, Councillor Watt. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Council, a little over a year ago, kindly agreed to pay the $1,500 for registration for our RAP, our Reconciliation Plan, and that lasts for a year. It's a more complex process, certainly, than I thought. I think we are making progress, and one of the very pleasing things is that we have 3 representatives of the LALC who attend, most of whom attend each meeting, and their comments and ideas and points of view are invaluable and will lead to some progress. So I'm confident that this time we will get it done well within, I say that there is an election coming and so on and so forth. So I won't finish that sentence. I'll just say that I'm confident it's a worthwhile thing to do. We want to get it right. We want to make sure that they're not just words, they are actions that the council is committed to taking, and that the LALC and the First Nations people are happy with and supportive of.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Councillor Smith and Madam Mayor. As we all know, reconciliation takes time and genuine commitment. In reflection of how Cowra's relationship with Japan has grown and changed over the past 80 years, I would ask my colleagues for their support in the continuation of the important work of building Council's relationship and reconciliation with the Wiradjuri people.
Any further comments? Councillor Wright.
Question first. Is this going to be an annual charge, even when we adopt the plan and place it on the record?
I'll have to take that on notice, Madam Chair. I think so. For the various stages of the Reconciliation Action Plans, there are 4 models, and I think each of them requires a subscription. But I'll take that on notice and advise councillors.
Yeah, Councillor Smith.
I might be able to add to that. The charge is only for Reconciliation Australia to work with you on your RAP. So you submit it, they have a look at it, make suggestions, recommendations for change and so on until you get a final product that you're happy with and they are happy with. So the charge is for the work that they do, auspicing and assisting. Once that RAP is completed, my understanding is that there is not an ongoing charge. However, should council choose to move on to the next RAP, which would be the next stage in the process, there would be another charge for working with council reps to forward that.
Thank you. That answer your question, councillor Wright?
Oh, it gives me an answer, but it sounds like you can't start your plan, you can't access the stage or whatever you want to work on until you pay the $1,500, and then you work with them and get it. Like in my mind, if you're still working on what you've got, you should complete that, then lodge for the $1,500 to see you've got something to start with straight away, and they can work with you then. This could be a bottomless pit. This process, and I'm not denigrating the idea of a reconciliation plan, but maybe that's why there's not many plans on the list. But I'll go with what the majority wants. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Wright. Any further comments? Right of reply?
I'll continue an answer to councillor Wright and to other councillors in my right of reply. The Reconciliation Working Party decided that the best way to progress the aims of council and reconciliation was to work under an organisation that is well regarded. We could have gone on our own. I think that would have been a more fraught and more difficult process. Had we finished the RAP as we originally intended within a year, that would have been the only charge. It's just taken us longer than we thought to get it going.
Thank you, councillor Wright. Councillor Smith. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, Director of Corporate Services 6.1, page 45, release of closed decisions. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Delbo, Councillor Wright. Councillor Delbo, you going to speak?
Thank you. There are multiple resolutions here from Council's closed meeting, commencing from January up until April, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor Wright.
No, the only thing I'd say for further is this is releasing resolutions that were made in confidence for various reasons, and now they're released for the public to see what they entail.
Thanks, councillor Wright. Any further comments? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now we have the quarterly budget review statement. I have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor West and Councillor Watt. Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we discussed this at the previous occasion, and I just again highlights the I guess the financial strength and the prudent management of Cowra Council over a long period of time, including recent months. And just a note of caution: if someone picks up these figures and may see that there is a substantial surplus, that's a book surplus. It doesn't necessarily mean that council is rolling in cash or hiving a little nest egg somewhere. It means just a simply accounting method, and council's financial position is secure. But I just hope people don't read into it that council is not spending money on roads and parks and gardens and so forth, as we should, because we are.
Thank you, councillor West. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to start by saying thank you to Graham and his team. There's obviously been a lot of thorough work in the development of this, which has led to a much more accurate picture of our expected income and expenses. Overall, we can see here there is a slight improvement in our projected surplus than there was at the beginning of the financial year. In part, this has come from grants received throughout the year, but it has also in part come from the delay of projects. But as we've discussed here many times in the community, in these chambers, and hopefully the community are aware, where we've delayed projects is because we've received funding such as for flood recovery and road recovery that had a time limit on it, and we are constantly working as a council to make sure we're balancing those priorities of what can be achieved in grant funding and what needs to be achieved according to our plan. But Again, we are sitting in a strong position with a very strong positive operating performance ratio, and would again ask our acting director, to pass on our thanks to his team.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Any further comment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, number 6.3, the appointment of chair to the Audit Risk Improvement Committee. There is a slight change to that recommendation to include, it's on page 65, and we have to include for a period of 4 years in that recommendation. It's Councillor Watt, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt?
I have a further change to propose us to take on as the motion, to read that Mr. Ron Gillard, where am I looking at? Be appointed as chair effective from 1 July 2024 for a period of 4 years.
Okay, can we just take some advice on that? Do we wait till July the 1st, or do you want to?
Is that right?
27th of May? Is that what you want to do?
That's correct, Madam Chair, and Councillor Watt. I know has shot a few emails around today, and we've been in discussions with her. Mr. Gillard is still currently the chair. He has indicated he would resign effective 30 June. So he remains chair with the commencement of the ARIC guidelines on 1 July. We're looking to seeking council's endorsement to have Mr. Gillard appointed as chair from that day going forward. But he's currently chair and therefore able to participate as required under the guidelines in the recommendation to council of the second independent member that we're currently calling expressions of interest for.
So the recommendation will read that be appointed as chair effective from July the 1st for a period of 4 years. Everyone clear on that? Okay.
Clarification, and Director Rapsall answered my basic question today about if it's right that we can appoint him. Does his period of being chairman prior to this new ARIC formulation, is that not counted? Is that disregarded in the length that he can be chairman going forward? Because I think there was a period.
Our understanding is that the new guidelines, new terms of reference, that starts again, and that those terms would start again.
Thank you. Councillor Watt, would you like to speak? Councillor Kiss?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to say that I support the recommendation, of course, with the amendment too, that Mr. Gillard has extensive experience and is well versed with the needs of Cowra Council.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Smith?
Yes, I'd like to speak for the recommendation. Being on the ARIC committee, Mr. Gillard is on a lot of ARICs. He is fully aware of the mechanisms of the ARIC. He is always very well prepared for a meeting, and he runs a very good meeting, and I have no hesitation in supporting this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Watt, would you like to reply? Anyone else? Sorry. Further? Councillor Watt? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, 7.1, the Director of Infrastructure and Operations on page 66. The Waste and Recovery Strategy. The mover, Councillor Kiss, Councillor Watt, Councillor Kiss. Oh, yeah, fine. Sorry. Councillor Watt, Councillor Kiss.
Had your head down. Thank you, Councillor Kiss, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you to everyone who provided formal feedback to the plan through either a submission or engagement with our stalls at Squire Park, as well as those who provided informal feedback to our MRF team or to other council staff. As everyone would know who's taken the time to read this, the strategy seeks to tackle a number of challenges, as well as to take advantage of a number of opportunities in the new economies to support the ongoing cost of waste and resource management. Some of those include ensuring our landfill is managed in a way which extends the longevity, reduces the costs, and minimises the environmental impact of our waste. It also seeks to tackle the high contamination rate in our recycling services through education, community engagement, and the provision of FOGO. It seeks to work with local businesses to help them minimise their waste and tackle problem waste areas, and also seeks to expand the MRF app to allow constituents to book bulk waste pickups on request. A core part of this strategy is the implementation of FOGO. And as we as council know, and our community would know, food and organics waste makes up a very significant proportion of our waste that goes into landfill. And as we know now, that doesn't need to be the case. For many people's bins, it is around half of their entire bin, which could be redirected away from landfill. By tackling FOGO, we are able to hopefully process this waste and return that as an income stream for the community, reduce the amount of landfill that we have, which will enable our landfill as set up now to extend for a long time, and also reduce the potential of biogas issues at our landfill. I'd like to thank the director and his team for working on this for about a year now. It's been been a long and important process to pull this together with many changes in the state and federal government's presumptions around what we should achieve here. But I'd really like to thank everyone involved in our community for engaging in this and looking forward to it being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the waste and resource recovery strategy really highlights some of our greatest challenges, one of them being our yellow bin contamination rate, but it also has some exciting opportunities for our community to have ownership in. Resource recovery can be largely driven by council, but ultimately our community must own its responsibility so that we can create a sustainable environment. There are lots of good ideas in here, and thank you to those who provided submissions, including Councillor Watt, obviously. They're exciting to see things like consideration of 2 bulky goods collections each year, so council is listening. And for those of you who haven't yet downloaded the MRF app, please do so. It's got a lot of useful information in there. I see that it's a very exciting project. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comments? Councillor Delbo.
Sorry, I'll take this off. I just wanted to commend council in not only placing this out on the mandatory 28 days public exhibition, but to also take it to the people through Squire Park across 2 days, where they were able to have face-to-face community consultation and understand the issues that face our residents, which they have mentioned, obviously the the desire for a green bin, concerns around soft plastics and FOGO, which has been mentioned tonight. Under the FOGO umbrella, this plan, although it is a 10-year strategic plan, it actually starts as soon as we endorse this. And one of our first major challenges that we're going to have in front of us is, meeting the deadlines for commercial premises with their FOGO requirements. In particular, large supermarkets, and that is to be achieved by 2025. So onward and upward we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Devo. Councillor Wright, did you want to speak?
Well, the only thing that I'll add is the strategy is from 2023 to 2032, and it would infer that we have a strategy in place for the next 10 years, and we will need to have a strategy in place, but whether the outcomes or the way the strategy is operated stays the same for that 10 years, I would doubt will change quite often with different government regulations, different ways of recycling what waste we can, and different materials being used in supermarket outlets and so forth. This will be a very live plan, I would say, and it will provide a lot of challenges, but hopefully we will have a better outcome in extending our landfill hole further into the future, and take a lot of stuff out of the system that can be recycled into something else. The FOGO will be good if it can. One strategy would be that everyone buy a dozen chooks and feed the scraps to the chooks, and they wouldn't have to come to the tip. It's just the way things have changed over the last 40 or 50 years. Also note there the villages, they provide a bit of a obstacle in how we collect rubbish from the village residents, and to the benefit, whether we can, one or two of the villages probably have enough people there to justify a regular pickup, but it looks like the village transfer stations, which ended up being a dumping ground for stuff that people didn't want to take to the tip, will be no longer, and we'll need to work how we get the smaller settlements and even farmers into the recycling habit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I'd just like to comment that when we're in Japan, where the amazing amount of packaging that they have, the place is immaculately clean. They have no rubbish anywhere, and they don't even have garbage bins. So there is something we're missing. But anyway, it is a very important strategy for us in the next 10 years, and I think it's good that we've got it out of the way, and now the hard work begins. So, Councillor Watt?
Just a question on that.
Sure.
Would the cleanliness have something to do with the amount of people per square metre compared to Australia?
No idea. They just pick up their rubbish, look after it themselves, obviously, and they've got good ways of getting rid of it. But I'll go, thank you. Councillor Watt, you want to write a reply? Anyone else want to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. The Gasworks Voluntary Management Proposal on page 113. Councillor West and Councillor Smith, I think. Thank you. Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an ongoing matter which has been dealt with by council for quite some time. The former municipal council was the owner of this particular facility. There is remediation work to be undertaken, and as the owner at the time of the operation, the owner is now brought onto council as the authority that I guess has had bequeathed to it, all the old municipal councils and the old Woolgoolta Shire Council operations, and it's our duty now to make sure that we undertake this voluntary management proposal, and that we hopefully get the situation completely rectified for the satisfaction of the people who live in that area and the environment.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Smith.
I'll just talk briefly to dot point 2, which talks about estimated additional funding to complete this VMP, and asks that it be included in the fourth quarter budget review. There's no figure there, although in the background there are a number of figures. It entirely depends on the scenario and the range of scenarios we find when we put down more wells and all that sort of thing, as to how much of ratepayers' money we're going to have to spend to ensure that the contamination does not leach out into our riparian systems. And that's a responsibility that council has inherited. It's a responsibility council takes very seriously, and it's a very important environmental task. So we will hope for the best and the least amount of money that needs to be spent, but we will do what is necessary, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Further comment? Anybody? Right of reply?
No, Madam Mayor.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Against? Carried. The council-owned lands in Pack Street on page number 7.3, page 119. And
Having moved.
Councillor West. Councillor Smith, Paul Smith. Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's been discussed. This was simply a matter of providing opportunity to get this land appropriately determined in terms of what it's gazetted as. If it becomes residential, if anybody builds, there's got to be a DA and so forth applied for. It can't just automatically happen. I'm sure that those who own this are fully aware of that. But in terms of going through this process, it's completely appropriate and responsible for council to do so.
Thank you, councillor West. Councillor Smith?
Just to say that this is mainly a formality, that we've got 2 blocks of ground there. They're not being looked after. They're not easy to look after either. So best thing we can do is get them for another use and tidy the place up.
Thank you, councillor West. Any further comments? Right, a reply, councillor West. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 7.5, 7.4, the West Cowra Sewage Project Development Plan on page 130. I have a mover, councillor Watt, councillor Smith. Judy Smith. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is a great shame that this project has not progressed in the 20 years since Council announced it would implement town sewerage for West Cowra. This project has the capacity to open up over 300 lots of housing when completed. Over the past 20 years, a mess has been created with limitations on development in anticipation of town sewerage being connected to properties in West Cowra. This recommendation takes a number of steps to begin the process of moving beyond this standstill. Firstly, to gain an estimate on the costings from public works, to prepare the required policies, guidelines, standards and approval process for the implementation of a pressure sewerage system. This is required to put together a complete engineering design and a budget for the determination of our path forward. This would be very clearly the beginning stage of going to a point where we could actually implement this policy we've been committed to for 20 years. Secondly, this recommendation commits Council to proceed with developing the plans for resolving the issues at Cowra Airport, which has been incomplete awaiting the implementation of West Cowra Sewer. Thirdly, a connection of a small lot area which has been affected by recent state government changes to land zoning. The project's costs, unsurprisingly, have expanded drastically over the past 20 years, and Council's allocation of funds has not grown alongside it. We will absolutely need state or federal government funding to support this project, but we cannot do that without having these plans in place. Cowra has so much capacity to develop, and a lack of housing is a core factor restraining our ability. It's time for action.
Councillor Smith.
This project has been on the books for a long time. It's a very complex and very difficult project. It's not ever going to be one which this council has the finances to implement on its own. It will always be one that is very expensive and that will need a considerable amount of government funding if it is to progress. I believe we have made progress. We have, the terrain is extremely difficult. It's very varied. We have a lot of different types of housing with septic, some old, some new. We need to do a lot of consultation and we need to bring the people who live in the areas that will be affected along with us. This does take time. I think that these are, these 4 dot points represent a number of important steps, including a decision that the pressure sewerage system is the one that is the best for large areas of that site. And that's after considerable research. So I do think we are making progress. I understand it is slow, but we will keep plugging away.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Further comment? Councillor Wright?
Yes, at least we are making some progress if we adopt this. A lot of the, we put a lot of restrictions on by ourselves in 2012-13 with the adoption of 2 hectare minimum lot size for houses in the West Cowra area and other larger lot areas of the shire bordering the town. That increased the lot size 10 times to have a house over there. So we've got to a situation now where people are building on bigger blocks, and they probably built them without the idea that if sewage comes through, they might subdivide the other blocks off for infill development. Plus, it's also making it difficult to put a sewage system in without going through someone else's block of land. But the Rankin Street problem it's been around a long time, and we just have to shift the sewage out of the septic system and into a sewage system because of the type of land that it's on. And I hope that this helps, and I hope that we can get some money out of the federal government release of money for housing development and improvement. They announced some 4 weeks ago, which possibly includes upgrading or installing sewerage systems into a town area. West Cowra has been allowed to develop without a lot of restrictions. It wasn't up to I just don't know when it was. Was it no, it would be the 1990 plan. I think it's when it probably was 2008 when a lot of the West Cowra houses were built on 1A agricultural land, and it was only finalised then that it become residential land. And it even come out in the Dawson Drive precinct when people couldn't get a house loan because it was on 1A land. And it just shows that we need to, when we are expanding and we look to expand, that we do have our plans in place with the right titles on them, and that I wish staff well in implementing this proposed recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further comments? Right of reply. Councillor West. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I obviously support the recommendation fully, and I acknowledge Councillor Wright's comments around Rankin Street. There's some real issues in some of those streets in West Cowra with sewer. I just think we need to be a little bit mindful of taking the community with us with this particular journey. If this was an easy scenario, an easy fix, then it would have been started a long time ago. It's complex. And the other point I'd make is that it's very expensive. We need to make the community aware that it's expensive, so we need to do some funding around what that might look like and how we might actually be able to undertake this work. But this is taking us forward. It's getting more designs, more estimates. It's not wasting time. It's important, but we need to keep talking to the community so that we don't give the impression we're committed to doing something that is going to take a while to do, because this is not going to happen tomorrow or next week. But the fact council is committed to taking it forward and talking to the community is, I think, a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor West. Further comment? Right of reply, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly in reply, I absolutely agree with Councillor Smith that this is a very complicated process from here, and there is a lot of work to do, as is noted in the report, about who owns the land, who owns the sewerage systems, how we roll it out, what stages do we roll it out. However, none of these have occurred in the last 20 years. These are all things that we need to do going forward. The Housing Infrastructure Fund, as Councillor Wright referenced, has been announced and is set to be open soon. And as noted, without having the plans in place that this recommendation gives our team the authority to go and get, we are not able to apply for that funding. This is a great opportunity of a government choosing to invest in infrastructure for housing, and I hope that we are ready to go when that opens. As mentioned by my colleagues, these steps are an extremely important step in moving towards doing something for West Cowra Sewerage. In developing the plans and policies and guidelines and how we will do it, we'll work through those tough issues. However, 20 years is too long to not break ground on a project. It can be a complicated project. There is a lot of questions to answer, but 20 years
is too long.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we'll have the expansion of tournament services levy, part 7.5, 100, page 143. Councillor Smith, Councillor Downey, Councillor Smith.
Minister Camper has released a statement for our delectation. In my mind, it contains a lot of ambit claims about bad operators, for example, about levelling the playing field, levy being paid by only 2 operators, which is inequitable. I can't really see how equity is advanced by asking cemetery operators and owners such as this council to collect quite significant sums of money from the bereaved and pass it on to the state government to be used in Sydney. Who and where are the cowboy operators? How is this money going to be used? How do we know that only the amount of money that is needed is going to be collected? Perhaps if too many people die, then less will be asked, or the opposite. I heard on the radio this afternoon that the cost of funerals has gone up approximately 20% in the last few years. People are rightly concerned these days about the cost of living. Now it seems they have to be even more concerned about the cost of dying.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Downey.
I too support this motion in both parts, that we note the proposal to introduce the interment levy and that council write to the minister in opposition of this forced levy being imposed on council, which will in turn be passed on to our residents. The CCNSW activity report has figures for 21 and 22. There's no up-to-date figures. And in those figures, it shows that 1,359 cemeteries are in regional and rural New South Wales, and 968 of those are run by local councils, which is 71%. So most definitely this is a cost shifting exercise by the state government to take money off local government. We should really think about doing some work investigating the operators they think that are not doing the right thing. They quote those, they speak about those, but not just adding a blanket fee to the whole of New South Wales to investigate or to follow that up. Dying is a very expensive business. Figures show that 15 people were interred without means in regional and rural cemeteries in 2021-22. That means they died without the means to have a funeral. I'd expect that might rise if we keep raising prices on our services every 12 months. We do that anyway, but with extra things that are coming from a state level. So yes, more than happy to. I'm pleased to let Minister Kemper know that we would like to complain, to use his words.
Thank you, Councillor Downey. Any further comment? Councillor West.
Madam Mayor, fully support the comments that have been made. I'm just wondering if the mover and seconder might consider adding a little bit to dot point 2, where we also write to our local state member and to maybe country mayors and the joint organisation as well, who would probably have similar concerns to us. That was all.
You happy with that?
Happy to accept that, and perhaps to the JO as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yes, I fully support other councillors and what they've had to say, and I think every bit of it's 100% right. But I can't help but look at this, and because they don't do anything for us, they're just charging us more money, $156 for a burial. I can only look at it as death tax by stealth.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comment?
Yes.
Councillor Wright.
I think when we should write to the Honourable Stephen Camper and Minister for Lands and Property and attack him on his first 2 paragraphs, where first paragraph says we're going to provide an accessible, sustainable and affordable burial and cremation service into the future, and the next paragraph automatically says, in addition, we will implement a levy that's been approved by IPART, who is very generous, IPART, and the statutory review of cemeteries to expand the interment service levy. So they're going to make it cheaper by charging us more. And this is just a grab for money. It's paying bureaucrats that play with a computer and have no role in the operation of a cemetery. And it's similar to the tax that we're going to be paying on the inspection of four dams in the Cowra Shire used for flood mitigation in the township of Cowra of $68,000. This won't work out to be quite as much money as that, but we are already maintaining the cemetery, providing it the best way we can. The funeral home charges their charges, which we have no control over. So I really don't know what the role of this job is. They don't provide land for us to bury people in. We've got to do that. We've got to find the land. I don't see them at the church wishing the dead person goodbye, but they've got the hand out to take some money. Just one question: that we would not pay $41 for a cremation. The crematorium would have to pay that, wouldn't they? Because we don't do cremations.
Dirk, can you answer that?
Excuse me, we wouldn't be paying the fee for cremations, no.
No.
Or we would be levying the fee for interment of ashes, but not for the physical cremation.
Thank you.
So we will be issuing a bill. Will we, that it'd go to the funeral home, and then the funeral home sends all the expenses to the departed relatives, is it? Because we don't send a bill directly to the departed family.
I'll take that on notice, Councillor. I mean, hopefully the fees aren't implemented, but if they are, we'll have to have another report recommending that we advertise them. And I'll give you the mechanism of how they'd be applied then.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, when you pay a funeral director or you pay the council, we provide a service. We're paying these people, they're not providing a service.
Oh. Yep, fine. I get it. Sorry, where were we up to? Any further comments, or Councillor Smith, right of reply?
I'll just read another small part of Minister Camper's instructive message to
lighten
us.
our night.
And it's the paragraph that talks about beginning consultation with industry through in-person workshops and webinars in April and May, which is all well and good, although a very short amount of time. But the first half of that paragraph says the change will come into effect on the 1st of July. That's not consultation.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we have number 8.1, section 355, committee draft minutes for Cowra Natural Resource minutes, page 146. Have a mover. The advisory committee meeting held at page 146. Thanks, Peter. I'm looking right at you. So I need a seconder. Councillor Watt. Peter. Go.
The NRM committee have been, we've been trying to gain traction and going ahead. Our numbers, we've got 8 members, but 2 or 3 of those members have got different roles in their current employment and previous employment, and are finding it difficult to get to meetings. But we have this citizen science event. We hopefully will be in August with Lisa Blair to speak about plastics and renewable diesel. And the renewable diesel is being made out of wheat straw at the moment. And DPIE have got a ute doing a trek down the east coast using the diesel fuel. Lisa Blair is going to the corridor facility the same week as we're hoping to get her here. It'll reduce costs. We're just negotiating costs with the corridor project and working out what the civic centre is going to cost us for the day to have a senior primary school students there and senior high school students that are looking at environmental type education. We didn't have a workshop this month. We were going to have a workshop at the abattoirs the previous fortnight, a couple of months ago, but that fell in a heap because EPA had been challenging the operator out there on the system they put in to collect energy off the pond to generate electricity. We have discussed the going forwards of the incorporating some of the NRM committee with the Tidy Towns committee, and I will be offering Councillor Judy Smith an invitation to come to our meeting on the 19th of June, I think it is, to see what we can pick up on the different things that they were there, what we were that we can do with regarding RAFCA and other things. If anyone's got any questions, you can ask me. I generally work better when I've got to provide an answer rather than speak from the hip.
And thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Watt, would you like to speak? Would anyone like to ask Councillor Wright any questions? Would anyone like to speak? If not, and I'll write a reply, Councillor Wright.
One of the things I'd like to do, I'd like to thank Cassandra Gaidy and the Director, Russa Hackett, for their ongoing support to the NRM committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We have the Section 358 Committee draft minutes for Access Committee meeting, and on the page 149. I have a mover, Councillor Kiss, seconder, Councillor Smith, Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could I just ask that we include one additional recommendation to the minutes here, and that is that we ask Mayor Ruth Fagan respectfully write to the centre manager of the Coles building to ask whether they will consider reinstalling public seating outside of the Miller's store.
Okay. Yep. Councillor Smith, are you going to second that? It's the second point. Yes. Happy with that? Councillor Kiss.
Thank you. Yes, as you can see, we've been quite busy in our discussions, but in particular, one of the things that has been raised, and I understand that it's not a council responsibility per se, but we have received quite a bit of information about the concern over the lack of seating inside the Coles arcade. Where there previously was seating, it's now been removed. I'm not quite sure as to why, but yeah, I did look and it certainly has been. So we were just hoping that the centre management may consider reinstalling it for the assistance of the community. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Yes, our Access Committee serves an important role in our community, and it was only the other day we opened or attended the opening of the Aero Club premises over it, and anyone that hasn't been over to the aerodrome had a look at those premises. They are a credit to everybody involved. The state government put money in, council put in a ramp, the Access Committee put in a ramp there, and but the amount of work that the Aero Club put in themselves, raised their own money, and it's very, very good to have a look at. But I think this is only the tip of the iceberg. There are a fair few things around town that need access committee work done on it, and I commend the committee for their work.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Further comments?
Good question. The disabled toilet for the neighbourhood centre, I presume that's in the main building of the neighbourhood centre, what they call the office, is it? What's the responsibility of the landlord in providing an update of facilities besides the leasee? The reason I asked the question is that council owns the building. They said they're going to write and ask for a submission, but if we as the building need to have proper access for the people leasing the building, would it mean that the money would come from a different source rather than the disability access amount of money?
A good question. I think we could. Yeah.
I can answer that part of it, Councillor Crichton. Yes, it wouldn't need to come from the access incentive scheme if it's a council building. In terms of whether it's required under regulation, I'll defer to others.
The proposed bathroom upgrades form part of their current development approval and construction certificate for the works. So they are required to do those upgrading works as part of their approval. But what they are considering seeking is access incentive scheme funding.
So, yeah, it's got a bit. So have they got a DA in on upgrading the building that we own?
Through the chair, yes, they do. Yes, they have a current consent for upgrading works within the building and for additions out the rear as well.
And I don't know whether anyone's able to comment, Dirk, Larissa, or if not, we need to look into it, what the terms of the lease that Councillor Wright referred to might say in relation to any improvements required for the building. Yes, and anybody's able to answer that tonight, that's something we'll need to look into as well.
We'll take that on notice and come back to you. I think it's the best option for
So that was my question about what does the lease actually say? And are we responsible for doing the works? And if so, where does the money come from? The other thing that I had to ask was about the shopping centre chair. Are we able to write to local businesses and do that? Like, is that something we normally do?
We have written in the past about the state of the shopping centre there. We've written
Okay.
about
How successful has that been?
it has had some success.
Okay.
But we have written about the state of different areas
Yeah,
in town, so
okay.
we can do that.
Yeah, I know from managing or helping manage one of the shopping centres where there is an actual chair that it can be used quite often as a jump, a ramp, for lots of things other than actually being sat on. So I'm suggesting perhaps that was a decision they made because of something that had happened in the arcade.
We can find out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then also the teachers' car park, a drop-off zone in Bow Street. Who actually owns the teachers' car park? Okay. So we'd have to approach them and ask them, not take it to the traffic committee. Would we not?
As a youth, I attended school
a
over
long
in that
time
car
ago.
park. Yeah. I don't expect even Councillor Wright wouldn't have experienced that because the new high school opened and we moved. But I spent all but 1 month of my first year at high school there. There were 4 classrooms over there. They were weatherboard things with wood heaters, which was interesting when the teacher wasn't there for 10 minutes between classes. all hell broke loose. But yeah, it would certainly be owned by that, and any attempts to use it as a drop-off zone would have to be okayed by the education department.
So that the minutes actually say that that Katie's going to write a letter to the
traffic committee for consideration, which it doesn't actually have anything to do with the traffic committee, does it?
I doubt it.
The Department of Education, and wouldn't they be the first port of call?
Yeah, would you like to add that, Nick?
Sorry, my
That
speech,
was just my other
that was very well picked up actually by Councillor Downing. That's only because I'm familiar with it that I didn't look at it the same way. It's actually two different things, and I'm quite happy to have the minutes adjusted to reflect that. If we look at Katie to write a letter to the Traffic Committee for consideration, that was actually the original consideration of having a parking spot at the end of the bus zone in Vaux Street, which is in our action items. So somehow that's just been adjusted in the minutes itself. So that was actually to question the Traffic Committee about that. As far as the other one, that was another option, just simply saying that the other option may be to create a space in the teacher's car park, which you absolutely rightly said that isn't something that's within our purview. It was just a consideration that if it can't be allowed in Bow Street, that might be something that the community member may wish to approach the school about.
Yeah.
So sorry, but I will have that adjusted in the minutes because that is, they were confusing, and it wasn't until I read it and you mentioned, I thought, no, actually they don't link like that.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comments on this, or will I just, Councillor Smith?
Yes, Dirk, correct me if I'm wrong, but even if the Education Department agreed to that, the Traffic Committee would have to look at the impact on the traffic flow in and out of that. A thing I would have assumed.
I think it's all up for investigation. Let's just leave it at that. Councillor Kiss, would you like a right of reply?
Just wanted to say once again a thank you to the Aero Club. They not only were we able to provide them with the Access Incentive Fund, and thank you to Council for approving that, but they did invite us out to, or the Access Committee, out to their afternoon tea and their opening, which was very well received by our committee members. They were just delighted to have felt important enough to be included. We did have our Deputy Chair attend as well, Danny Jackett. Very pleased that he was able to come out there, and of course Councillor Smith as well came out. So it was a lovely afternoon all up and very well celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Right, late reports. We have no late reports, but we do have a notice of motion about the Cowra Early Childhood Services Corporation Cooperative, page 153. Councillor Downing. You'd like to move that and need a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Judy Smith. Thank you, Judy.
Did you want to read it out, or do you want me to?
No, it's there.
It's there? Righto.
Yep, everyone can read it.
Yep, everyone's got it. Okay, so in March, just a bit of background, in March 2024, Council was contacted by Cowra Early Childhood Services to consider a proposal to increase family daycare educators in our area to meet the demand for local families by creating a grant program for this purpose. Following this, an information meeting was held with KECS and family daycare representatives where they reiterated the struggle for families in the service and explained the daily impacts of insufficient childcare within our community. In my research, I found a study by the Mitchell Institute, which was in 2022, it's also part of the University of Victoria. And they released figures showing that there's increasingly critical shortages for children and families in Australia getting daycare, which is also an economic problem. This research was the first of its kind in Australia. One of the many functions of childcare, as we know, is to enable greater workforce participation, particularly for women. And an article, journalist Gabrielle Chan recently wrote an article about the lack of childcare with particular focus on regional and remote areas, using information from the above mentioned research. She states that 9 million families have limited or no childcare and are finding it an impossible task to secure a place. Nearly half of regional areas are childcare deserts, meaning 3 children for every place available. Cowra's figure was 2.6. Now that populations are moving out of cities to country towns, we are feeling the ripple effect. Doctors, nurses, teachers and other professionals are all being held back by a lack of childcare, in her opinion. The heart of the problem may lay in the fact that in the last decade, Women have been the more educated of the sexes, although they still remain the main carers. Data from the ABS shows the main reason 36% of women did not return to the workforce was because of lack of childcare. And when you take into consideration women who have children under the age of 15, that percentage goes up to 75%. Early childcare, as we all know, sets children up for school. It is not just a babysitting service anymore. They teach kids valuable social skills and the building blocks so that when they get to school, they hit the ground running. I quite clearly agree with Ms. Chan when she says that childcare is not a soft issue and it's a countrywide issue which is exacerbated in the regional areas. The cascading effect on a regional community means that mothers are not using their qualifications. That means a large percentage of a town may not be working in our schools, hospitals, retail shops, hospitality management, and even local government services. And a lot of these things are actually women dominated. An increased workforce leads to increased economic development of a town. It's not just a women's issue, it's an everyone's issue, which needs to be addressed by all levels of government, not just left to the community. If you need a real-time explanation of this concept, I'll use my family as an example. My daughter-in-law has a master's in accounting and a degree in business management. 3 children, with 2 under the age of 4. Without family providing the day-to-day care of the youngest 2, she would not have been able to return to work until childcare was available. Without her income, her husband would not have had the financial means to expand his gym business and build new premises at his present location. Following on from that, he then would not have the opportunity to employ 5 staff and support other businesses in town, providing ancillary services such as cleaning, mowing, and other products. That is how one woman can returning to work to use her qualifications can affect the local economy. Cowra Council has a list of community organisations that we support, and I feel that this initiative would be no different. This proposal is an innovative program that the experienced educators of KECS and family daycare believe would begin to address the significant issues Cowra and District is suffering around lack of childcare spaces. I hope that I have some support around the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Councillor Smith?
Thank you. When family daycare and KECS came here and spoke to us, they made, I believe, a fairly compelling case for us to invest public money in the public good in this area. And that included some concrete examples, such as the one that Councillor Downing has just given from her own family, but others, as to people who would like employment in Cowra, or would like more employment but can't get the childcare services that they need to enable them to do that. So I think that it will be money well spent. I note that the idea is that while this would be managed by KECS, that a report would come biannually to Council on how this money is being expended and so on. And I think that that is good governance on our part, ensuring that it is given to the people who are actually going to provide these childcare facilities and finding out exactly how it is all going. So it's not only us, it's not only KECS, it's not only the Mitchell Institute and so on, who now understands how important early childhood childcare is to the social, physical and emotional development of our young people. And that is something that we, I think quite rightly, would like to use, I hope, would like to use some money to invest in for the benefit of our community. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I concur with much of what Councillor Downing has put forward and notes supporting her motion, and I congratulate her on her investigations. What I believe we need to be mindful of here is that family daycares are actually businesses where the profit goes to the business owner. no different from the owner of a cafe, for instance. The more income you make, generally, the more profit. Likening family daycare to Ability Network, Sync, Showground Trust or Cowra Tourism is not a fair comparison. Yes, these places run as a business to try to make a profit or at least break even, but all profits are reinvested back into the not-for-profit organisation to improve the services or at least at a minimum to maintain them. This is why I would suggest that if this motion be passed, we consider it come from the work order 11 of our long-term financial plan budget for 24-25, which actually has just over $36,000 in there for business assistance. There's something else I'd like KEX to consider in light of the funds being donated to for-profit enterprises. And it's not that I wouldn't support this, it's just something that I'm hoping that KEX will take into consideration. It's not very often that council is seen to donate money to start-up businesses. And it's my personal belief that it will only become more costly to start up new family daycare businesses over time. I'd like to consider, for KEX to consider whether the businesses supported by these funds could perhaps repay the money or some of to the KEX account, so it's from council, that's fine, but to ensure future sustainability and continuity of the whole family daycare program, so that there is maybe a portion of it that's more like a loan than perhaps a grant. We're not talking about not-for-profits here, we're talking about people making an income through their own business enterprise, and I'm certain there are even people in this room who've had to borrow money to start up a business, but it generally involves paying interest, of course. Family daycare is an important method of childcare and it's very valuable to our community, and I'd hate to see KEX back in this same place down the track where they're unable to attract family daycarers because of the high business startup costs. And I see that having a loan as such may assist with the continuity of the program. As I said, it is up to the recommendation advisors that it's to be managed by KEX, and I believe that they have some responsibility to helping to ensure the continuity of the family daycare program as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish to add a .2, please, if it's or an amendment.
Yep, that's okay. Yep, what would you like to say?
Dot point, the first bit stays the same, and .2 would be that the Cowra Early Childhood Services Cooperative Limited report to council when and who receives the $2,000 grants.
Wouldn't that be in the 6 monthly report?
Do you want to?
Wouldn't that be in the 6 monthly update?
Well, if you want to do that, put the 6 monthly report in your motion. It's not in your motion.
What you propose is that sector cooperative limited report back to council on a 6 monthly basis as point 2.
Is what it says, yeah.
Isn't part of
The
it.
6 monthly report would indicate who and when got it.
Yep, okay,
You happy with that?
I can do that.
Councillor Smith, you happy with that? Excellent. Now would you like to
Well, yeah, I'll speak to it then.
speak to it? That'd be great.
I don't know if Councillor Kiss is 100% right. Early Childhood Services Cooperative Limited is not a profit-making organisation. It is a not-for-profit, and you might say that the people working for it is a not-for-profit. But to say that the family daycare people are making money out of this and should pay something back, I think is a little bit rich when we as councillors have been asked to increase the donation for disabled entry or servicing of businesses in town from $5,000 to $10,000, and we have not asked them to pay any money back. And those businesses are definitely for profit. They're not helping the children of Cowra unless they're helping their own children. And I think this is a good way for us to help the young people in the young children in Cowra to become assimilated with peers and so forth. And I think what Councillors Judy Smith and Councillor Downing has said, I will not repeat. It is a business grant. It could be classed as a business grant, and it would come out of that allocation. But to ask for that money to come back is a little bit rich when we're given $10,000 to businesses to have a automatic opening door or a bit more convenient toilet. I think I've probably said enough.
So you're speaking for the motion. Thank you, councillor Wright.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I just make two comments?
Sure.
That the motion as it stands at the moment with the draft budget that comes back to you at the end of June, and I did raise this in conversation with Councillor Downing, it will be sitting there as just an addition to that budget, one-off $10,000. My advice to Councillor Downing, that's fairly inconsequential in the scheme of a $50 million budget. The other point, and I do apologise, I will seek advice on whether we need to give public notification of 28 days in accordance with section 356 of the Act. I suspect we will. That would merely be a procedural thing, and I'll give council that advice and if necessary, report accordingly to the council meeting in June.
Thank you. Councillor Delbo.
I've been a bit quiet tonight, so I better come home strong. In 2021, we had a census, and from that, obviously, we're able to get excellent statistical information. And as provided on our council website through ID Profile, I have found that 20.3% of our households in our council area are made up of couples with children. And that figure is really, really important because household and family structure play a most important demographic indicators, revealing for our town's residential role and its functions. And what it does is that it provides key insights into the level of demand for services and facilities relating to age and household types. From that, 17% of our population are aged between 0 and 15 years. And I'm going to bring it down even further that family daycare normally does have children 0 to 4 years of age. And of that, we have 684 children, little ones, in our community from our 2021 census data that are 0 to 4 years of age. We have 739 from 5 to 9 years. We have more little people in our shire than what we do of the age groups of 75 to 79, 80 to 84 years, and 85 plus years. So yeah, we have more little people than each of those age groups. The services that we provide for those age groups in our town are quite strong. The services that we provide for our little ones and their families are at times probably not as strong. And this is an example of something that can be done to help families. I mean, whatever position they're in, whether they want to return to work, start a business, whatever it is, to be able to find and access childcare. Childcare is a significant issue. It's a real issue that many families face, especially when you have multiple children. Other councils have filled this space in the past by actually opening up childcare facilities, and we have neighbouring shires that have done that. I believe that the motion that we have in front of us tonight is a much easier and cheaper way of going forward to provide a third-party organisation to go forward with this and to empower people in our town to jump in this space. Startup costs, I thought, okay, what does it actually mean to start up a business, a childcare business, a family childcare business from home? And each premise is different depending on what an individual house looks like. They must have public liability insurance. They must have fire safety equipment, first aid kits, training, and then refreshers. They've got to have a handle on anaphylaxis and asthma management, working with children checks, police checks, safety aids, and there's a list of safety aids in the audit that's conducted, things like fencing and power outlet plugs, play equipment, resources, education programs, change tables, high chairs, you name it. They also must have, from my research, a Certificate 3 in child services. I also wanted to, I obviously fully support this motion, but I also wanted to make comment in that comment that Councillor Kiss has said tonight, that councils normally do not support start-up businesses. This is incorrect. I have worked in local government for many years and in the economic development role, and as a result of that, across the last 3 councils that I've worked for, Bland, Cabon and Orange, all had significant programs that helped businesses to start up. It was across many different industry types, where someone who was coming either in at the Shire, new to the Shire, or existing in the Shire, wanted to expand their existing business, were able to apply, and hence it went through a council meeting for determination. I'm fully aware that there are other councils within the Central West that follow the same process, and so I just wanted to clarify that councils can support businesses, and on this occasion, I think it's a strong community need that's needed, and I support the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as a parent of a small child, it's really heartwarming to hear my colleagues speak passionately about the importance of this. As we've discussed, and many of my colleagues have, there's a lot that can come from investing in early childhood education. As Councillor Downing articulated, it's extremely difficult in town to get into childcare in any way. I put my son on the list at Carinya a few weeks after he was born and was told he was 30th on the wait list for a room with 16 spots each day. When the following year we applied again to enter, my husband lined up at 6:30 in the morning for the opening at 8 a.m. There was a line behind him. The person second in line did not get the days she needed to return to work. What family daycarers and early childhood educators across the board provide to our children is imperative to their success in the future. We now know that the period before school makes a huge impact on a child's future. In early childhood education and care, children learn social skills, language, and cognitive functioning. The lack of childcare is a clear barrier for women in our community rejoining the workforce. For families considering moving to Cowra, for people being able to continue living their lives in regional areas, and for industry attracting skilled workers to come to Cowra, and so much more. As you all know, I run an aerial application business. In Australia, there are around 400 qualified aerial applicators. Recently, we sought to hire and train a new agricultural pilot who had a commercial licence, of which if you do it through HEX, it costs about $80,000. The key factor in whether or not they would come and whether or not they will still stay in Cowra is their access to childcare. If by the beginning of next year they cannot access sufficient childcare, that person will not stay and will not be able to support a very significant business in our community. The request here is for the funding to go through Cowra Early Childhood Services Cooperative. CECs operate mobile preschool, long day care and out of school care, and also support family daycare education operators through support in developing programs, compliance and professional development. What this proposal is putting forth is for Council to provide grants for people seeking to start operating in family daycare. This is inspired by a project run by the Orange City Council, where they responded to a need in their community with the lack of any family daycare providers or any overarching organisation to do so, and it was greatly successful. As we just discussed in length through the Access Committee, we operate a grant system through the Access Incentive Scheme, providing businesses with grants to improve accessibility for our community, which is a fantastic program. As we've increased that grant to $10,000 in this financial year, we've seen a significant uptick in people taking on board the AIS, and we know that seeing this, that this is a significant cost to businesses that would not progress without our support.
as Councillor Delbo articulated, a number of these requirements around accessibility and around safety are required for family daycare educators. By providing this grant, we'd be seeking to operate on the same ideas for a kickstart for people to overcome that financial burden, to provide a service to the community, to provide accessibility to the community. As Councillor Delbo also mentioned, many councils, most councils in fact, are involved in early childhood education in some way. Many councils choose to deliver their own community childcare, and many councils do what we do in the provision of Crown land to places that operate early childhood education. I am a product of family daycare. Family daycare has changed a lot since I was a child in family daycare. No disrespect to my wonderful family daycare educators, but today there is appropriately many requirements around the work health and safety of your homes, the qualifications of the carers and the service provided. What this $10,000 could do is deliver consistency of care for many families, a more comfortable entrance to childcare for younger kids, and a reduced burden on our community. And I hope that this great discussion about how we spend $10,000, as was noted in our $50 million budget, will be supported, because it will have a huge impact on many, many families today and going forward.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Smith, Paul Smith.
Yes, Mayor Fagan, I'll speak against this motion. Councillor Downing is correct that we support other organisations in the town, and we do. They are good organisations. They are doing good things for Cowra, but they're not people. They're an organisation that are long-standing in our community. They are not contractors. We should not train people to set up a business and become contractors. Yes, we need childcare. We need doctors, we need nurses, we need aged care workers, and we need truck drivers. We do not directly subsidise training of these professions. When Libby addressed us at council, she said there was a regular turnover of carers. We could train these people and they may not stay. If their partner gets a promotion or gets a sack or get whatever, they might move on. I just don't think we should set a precedent in this case, because it could be the tip of the iceberg could come back to bite us.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comment? Councillor West.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I acknowledge the importance of this particular matter, and I acknowledge Councillor Downing for putting it on the table. I would just correct one thing around the Japanese gardens, and that it's seen as a tourism business. Well, it's not a tourism business, but it is a business that runs on tourism, but it has a far greater role in the Cowra-Japan relationship than just being tourism. And the water that council donates comes around as a result of the garden, or those associated with the garden, providing the funding for the construction of the raw water scheme. So it was an agreement struck 25 years ago to provide that water based on the contribution to the infrastructure around the raw water scheme. I understand the complexity around this, and I understand the need of early childcare. It's not lost on me. I understand completely the need and the importance of it. I'm just not sure this is the way we should be supporting it. I think there's many things we can do to support it. Yeah, I note that other councils in this field. It is a bit of cost shifting as far as I can see. I'm not sure that they're all happy to be in this field. And sometimes they're almost feel forced to be in it. And I think there's an opportunity for business as well to be putting some of the funding up to get people trained up to support their businesses. But I would. So I think that these comments are something that we have a discussion in open candour around the room. No one's right, no one's wrong, perhaps. Have an opinion. And it'll be a decision of the council which way we go forward. Probably also get discussed around the budget time as well. I'm not quite sure what the General Manager said, but it's something that can be looked at during the budget as well. But I learned very early on council, it's not how well you argue, it's how well you count. And I can see the numbers around the room, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time by a passionate argument. I would make the observation that if somebody thinks that you're old and you've got no idea about childcare, well, I'd just point that I've got grandkids like everybody else in the room who go to childcare and have difficulties getting access into childcare facilities. I have a grandson who has a Cert 3 in early childcare, and I've got a daughter-in-law who manages a childcare and preschool situation in Townsville that I talk to regularly about the issues that they face. So, yeah, I'm not an expert in it by any stretch of imagination, but there's an overarching background in my mind where most of us have some indication that, hey, It's a matter for council decision. It's not personal, it's a matter for council decision.
Any further comments? Right of reply.
Thank you, everyone. I'll just make it clear that I'm suggesting this is a one-off budget item. It is for 12 months. It's for one financial year. It's not an extension of that. It can be up for discussion after that. And we would obviously judge the success of it after we were reported back to, and then going forward, a new council would be able to decide if that was something that they wanted to keep in their budget for the next financial year. So I've been very mindful of that when putting this forward. I'd just like to give you some figures just quickly from levy at KEX. So when we break down the investment of the $2,000 to set up one family day carer, we find that it will go farther than just one individual educator. It extends up to 16 children per week in one service. If 5 different educators are supported, that's 80 children supported by council in the course of a year. The likelihood of 16 different children attending a service would be low, though definitely possible and not unheard of. It is more likely to see a mix of 8 different children in family daycare, which when multiplied by 5 gets us to 40, which resolves the wait list issue for family daycare entirely, which has been creeping up higher and higher, and at last count sits at 39. So this is one very good way that we could help a local not-for-profit address an issue that they've come to us with an innovative idea with, and thank you for your support.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much for the debate. Okay, we have the notices of the confidential matters, and are there any urgent matters for motions without notice? So we're going to confidential matters on page 155. I'll now take a motion to close the meeting to the public to consider the following confidential reports. Request for tender 2024 supply and delivery of bitumen emulsion and water and sewage telemetry system